Okay, and a big tip here is to actually throw out all your vegetable oils, seed oils, or what they really are, but they call them vegetable oils, and get some animal fats and cook in the animal fats. The easiest one is butter or lard or bacon grease. Bacon grease and lard are basically the same thing, except the lard comes from the skin of the pig and the bacon grease comes from the fat belly that you probably cooked in your own kitchen, but you may not be able to clarify it as much as the lard. Okay, and then tallow is beef fat. Originally, when McDonald's came out, they fried all their French fries in tallow, and from what I hear, they were much, much better than they are today. Maybe you like McDonald's French fries. Sorry, that's not on this diet. Potatoes are high starch, so they turn into sugar very quickly. So for that 30 to 90 day trial, you want to cut it. This is what you want to cut out. You want to cut out all the seed oils, i.e. vegetable oils, i.e. basically any oil you can buy at the grocery store, except for coconut oil. That is a plant product, and it is a very good oil to cook in. You can also use olive oil if you're not heating it up. You might find lard at the grocery store. It'll probably be in a block and be homogenized, but if you have, like I do have these Mexican supermarkets in the area, they make lard, and that's where I buy it from. It's not solid, it's not in a box, it's not at some manufacturing plant. The people at the store actually make it, I believe. It's called rendered pig fat, or pigskin fat. But if you switch over to those, you will do yourself an enormous amount of good. The other two things you really want to minimize, almost eliminate, is any kind of wheat product, any kind of starchy vegetable, and there's more starchy ones than you think. Oh, I don't have the list right here, but tomatoes, strawberries, bananas are absolutely horrendous. Any kind of potato, and then in the wheat, any kind of pasta, any kind of bread. You might say, well, I could keep that under my calories or my grams of carbs for the day. And maybe you can, but you're going to get enough grams of carbs other ways that you don't want that all turning into sugar and boosting your insulin. Okay, and the other thing is just regular refined sugar, or really all sugar. You don't want to use honey, you don't want to use sugar. You probably don't even want to use artificial sweeteners, but you can if you use the right ones. And so you can have tea, you can have coffee, you can put a little bit of sweetener in it. I use mainly saccharin, and I started drinking Diet Mountain Dew, which has aspartame in it, which can sometimes give you a headache. It can probably cause cancer too, both of them, but at the moment I'm more concerned about what the vegetable oils and the sugar and the wheat are doing to me than what the artificial sweetener will do to me. So I will probably wean off of that at some point in time, but I kind of had to have something like a soda to make the transition. But when you're doing that 1 to 3 week slow transition, try to get all those products out of your house. Try to get vegetable oils, try to get cereals, breads, biscuit mix, syrup, maple syrup. You're not able to eat the pancakes or the waffles, so what do you need the syrup for anymore? And sugar. I mean, you don't have to throw it away, but make sure it's not easily attainable. So if you do get a craving, I'll tell you how to address it without a sweet thing. Okay, and another point, I've mentioned it kind of already, is you need to use plenty of salt. Salt to taste, and then salt a little more. Because as you drop your insulin, your body's going to burn off glycogen, which is what glucose, i.e. sugar, gets turned into, and then stored as fat. So as you burn off that glycogen, it's about 3 parts water to 1 part sugar, and you're going to urinate a lot. When you urinate a lot of your minerals and sodium get flushed down the drain. So you need to make sure you are adding lots of sodium back. One trick, Dr. Finney stated was to carry bouillon cubes with you. And Verda recommends you do one in the morning and one in the evening. Mix it in hot water, or I guess you can mix it in vats and have it cold if you like. I prefer it hot. I also prefer the beef flavor, but I also have a lot of chicken flavor. They also make a vegetable flavor. Or if you don't want the cubes, they now make like a big tub or can or jar, I guess, plastic jar of powdered bouillon. You can mix 2 in 1 cup if you want to. And no, salt does not increase your blood pressure. In fact, eating this way, your blood pressure will decrease with your waistline. Mine has. I'm absolutely perfect blood pressure now. And I still have quite a ways to go on my waistline. But focus on the electrolytes and minerals so you can cut the cravings and the symptoms of the keto quote-unquote flu. You may lose anywhere from 5 to 25 pounds of fluid the first couple of weeks once you get into ketosis. Not in your transition phase, but once you truly get into ketosis. Most of the weight you lose at first is water weight, and that's because you're burning the sugar that the body is trying to store as fat. Okay, and you should eat the highest quality meat you can afford. That's fatty. Okay, I don't always do that. I do eat a lot of ribeye because that's one of the fattiest cuts you can get at the local grocery store. But I also eat a cheaper variety of pork, which is Spam is the commercial brand, and what Aldi sells they call luncheon meat. It's a can of processed pork, and it's about 18% fat, so I like that. I also buy the 72% ground beef, and if you watch Dr. Mabry's casserole video, that's what he uses. He uses a 3-pound chub, and he and I have been emailing back and forth to where we can find it the cheapest. If I see it at sale, I'll let him know. But he always reminds me you can get a 10-pound chub at Walmart for $1.05 a pound. That's a pretty reasonable way to do this. And if you can't afford the higher quality, keto, carnivore, it all works just fine on lower quality. You just might be getting some other stuff that you don't need or want, and maybe want to get rid of it later. You can probably find 20 different varieties of hot dogs at the grocery store. So you want to make sure you get the ones that don't have natural flavoring, which can be anything in this country. It can even be sugar added to make it taste better. And all the food companies do add sugar to make things taste better. Okay, and don't forget about eggs. Eggs are a very good source of everything you need. Vitamins, collagen. Oh, there's the thunder. Don't know if you heard it. You can also eat organ meat. Brains, tongue, liver, oxtail. You may or may not know how to cook those. You may or may not like them. I've heard if you ask the butcher to grind liver in with the ground beef, you really can't tell you're eating it. I haven't been that brave yet, but I might be soon. Seafood and shellfish, that's all included under meat. You can have water, unsweet tea, or black coffee. Or you don't have to have black coffee. You can have it with heavy whipping cream. Throw away the low-fat milk. Stop buying the 2%, the skim. Even the whole milk has too much sugar added to make it taste good. But if you need milk, use heavy whipping cream. It's even better in the fat category and the low-carb category than half and half. If you can't find heavy whipping cream and you must have some kind of a dairy, liquid dairy, then use half and half. It's better than any milk you can buy in the dairy case. You can add, like I said, you can add sweeteners to your tea or coffee if you want. It's best to kind of seek out local sources also if you can for eggs or meat. I know after the Wu-Fu bat flu came around, the local farmers are having a heck of a time getting into the butcher to get their cattle sold. Butchers are backed up till November was what I was told the last time. I asked my local friend here who grows cows and then sells the meat. She can't get an appointment till November, so I can't buy any of her meat until then, and by the time she gets then, I'm probably so far down the list, it may be next year before I can get the locally grown meat. But if you're in a better area where the butchers aren't as backed up, then get some local meat. You know, I remember growing up, my dad would used to buy like a side of a cow, half a cow or something. He'd split a cow with somebody else, and our freezer was always full of beef. But that's the best way to get it. And I'm just going to touch on, you can eat nose to tail. That includes all the organs. And it's supposed to be better for you. I haven't really gotten into that. But the main thing is, don't fret if you slip up. This is a very forgiving way of eating. Yes, it'll spike your sugar if you have that piece of cake or dessert. But you also have to live life. If you slip up, yeah, your sugar will go up, your insulin will go up. But if you go back onto this way of eating at the next meal or the next morning, it'll all balance out and you'll be back on track. Okay. If you hit a roadblock, some people find it better to go dairy-free for a month, except for butter. And then that's if your results aren't as expected. Some of the mistakes people make when they start carnivore are they forget that seafood, eggs, and butter are actually keto-friendly, carnivore-friendly. They go too lean. They stick with what they've been hearing for decades. Oh, eat chicken because it's leaner. And you know what the government guidelines did is they actually encouraged all the farmers to breed leaner cattle, leaner pigs, and leaner lambs for eating. And I guess chickens too, but they already had the hallmark of being lean. So I try not to eat chicken. It also has linoleic acid, which is one of the main problems with the seed oils. You get about 65% of your linoleic acid from seed oils, and you get 16% from chicken, which is too high for me. Don't forget about electrolytes. A lot of times people don't get enough omega-3 fatty acids. If you cut out the seed oils, you will get your omega-3s, omega-6 ratio in a better ratio, because seed oils are huge amount, up to 80% omega-6s. But you always need a little bit of omega-6s, so I basically try to cut out fried food at restaurants because they all fry in seed oils. But if you follow me on Facebook or Instagram, that's also CP59Fit, you will see that I had a seafood meal out the other night, and it had like 6 of the Walt's famous shrimp at Red Lobster. But that was fried. Everything else was scampi, so broiled, I guess, shrimp, lobster tail, broiled, and crab legs dipped in butter. So I had just a wee little bit of fried because I do need a little bit of omega-6s, but I want to cut out most of my fried food unless I'm cooking it in animal fat. And you're not going to find a restaurant these days that cooks in animal fat because the government says they shouldn't. Sorry about that.